We begin this morning with the prosecution's probing of former President Lee Myung-bak on various corruption allegations. The former president headed home from the prosecutor's office at around 6:30 a.m. that is, Korea time, some 21 hours after he entered the business building. We have our reporter Jung-hee, who has been following the story live at the Seoul Central Prosecutor's office. Jung-hee, many were anticipating for him to speak before leaving the complex, but he left without a word.
That's right, Semin. Former President Lee Myung-bak stepped out of the prosecutor's office roughly 30 minutes ago. This time on his way out, he didn't make any special remarks to the press. Lee left some 21 hours after he came in. The questioning ended just before midnight, lasting 14 hours, but Lee had to wait several more hours while state prosecutors reviewed the interrogation record. He arrived at the prosecutor's office yesterday morning at a little before 9:30 a.m., and the actual interrogation process started at around 10. Lee faces roughly 20 allegations, including bribery, embezzlement, and abuse of power. Prosecutors were known to have 120 pages of questions to ask Lee, so the ex-president went through several rounds of questioning throughout Wednesday. He was questioned on the auto parts manufacturing company Das, through which prosecutors say Lee created slush funds and holds the largest stake under fake names. Lee was also questioned about using state power for a lawsuit Das was involved in the U.S., receiving money from Samsung for that lawsuit, as well as him and his aides receiving illicit money from the nation's intelligence agency and other businesses.
And now, Jung-hee, do we have an idea about how the former president responded to the prosecutor's questions? I mean, what we want to know for most of the part is whether he admitted to any of the charges brought up against him.
Semin, prosecutors here say that we can basically see there's not a single allegation Lee admits to being guilty of. In fact, during the interrogation process, Lee was very proactive. He did not back out or he didn't stay quiet. He was very proactive in answering the questions, but they say that the ex-president answered with a lot of "I don't knows," or "my officials or my aides must have done it." They say the ex-president is still firm on denying the charges of creating slush funds and using state power for a Das lawsuit. Because Lee is a former president, prosecutors don't want to bring him in again. And considering Lee denies all the allegations against him, many see there's a much bigger possibility the prosecution could seek an arrest warrant for the former president. But for that, we probably will have to wait until the weekend. Semin.